Hello, welcome to Imperfect with Rebekah and Zandra. Today, even though I sound pretty chirpy,
That's
it
just
was a really
us.
nice, it was a really nice day today too. It was like 78 degrees. I went for a run and then we came out, like we went outside as soon as I came home everyone was outside. So anyway, welcome.
Yes. Yes. Here too.
um,
It's been beautiful.
well, it's supposed to rain again, like tomorrow or the next day.
Oh, we have a wind
Um,
advisory again too. Sorry.
oh,
Okay.
it's
Let's
been
like.
so, yeah. Welcome to the weather. in
uh,
almost in Idaho and Oregon,
right?
um, with Rebekah and Sandra. No, we we actually just wanted to do a talk today. We wanted to chat about loss and mourning and how everyone goes through loss and mourning, a loss of a family member or a close friend differently. Um, and and yeah, that's that's where I'm starting with that. It's one thing I did want to say in my experience is that um, even if it's expected, and even if it's been, I don't know, I think my grandmother's been dead for like almost 10, 20 years now, almost 20 years now. Um, it doesn't go away. I mean, it changes, but it's never going to go. The grief is never going to go away.
Right.
So don't expect that is what I want to say. Um, but we just wanted to talk about our experiences with it and hopefully help anyone who feels like maybe they're going through something alone or they're doing it differently, which is okay, or it doesn't seem normal the way they're mourning.
Exactly.
It is because it's how you process things is going to be different for each person.
Yes, and one reason I really wanted to touch on this is because after going through like editing well, actually pretty much all of them, I still talk about my mom like she's here, and that's just how I deal with it, because in my heart she's still here. So I thought it sounds as though my dad, the way I was talking, as though he was the one helping me with my reconnecting with my roots, and my mom wasn't a part of it. When really my mom passed away 2 years ago. And so I don't talk about it a whole lot. I mean, I talk about her. I don't talk about losing her, because most of the people who are close to her, close to me, already know. And so it's not like something I necessarily like to bring. It's not a memory of that time period that I really care to like remember. But I did want to kind of like a disclaimer. I don't, I didn't want it to sound like I'm doing this alone without her. I'm doing it mainly because of her. And she always wanted us to know more. And it really just kind of put that prioritization of what's important, and really kind of fueled that fire of wanting to reconnect a lot more with our roots and continue that with the kids. So yeah, and like you said, it doesn't get any, it gets easier in certain ways.
Right.
Not, I mean, it never leaves you. Like I
No.
still have moments where super random things, like I won't even know exactly the cause of it, but I'll just like start bawling over really random things. And I don't like to cry. I'm not a big crier. And I've always been a bubbly, kind of positive outlook kind of person. And so it was very natural for me to just dive deep and busy myself and kind of push. And that was also like, so my mom passed away, my brother passed away a month later exactly. And then the month after that, everything shut down with the pandemic. So I was just in survival mode for the rest of that year, and just really embraced being home with the kids and just being busy, because that's how I function the best, is if I'm busy. Sometimes I'm like an all or nothing kind of person, but I don't recommend that. I'm learning how not to be that way, and balancing all of that has been a big thing. But I just wanted to I felt like in my heart I needed to kind of clear that, just because I didn't want it to be misinterpreted by people who don't know us or circumstances or anything like that, because I really haven't talked about it a whole lot. So that was my big thing. But it's definitely kind of put in perspective of what I need to focus on in my life. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't have done it without my family, like especially the hardest part, like right afterwards or when she was sick. I have an amazing supportive family who all flew in or drove from all over the Pacific Northwest, or like I have a cousin from Arizona who came all the way up, and we're here. I have a cousin from Texas who came. Like, we're all over the place, and they all came to support my sister and I and my brother. And then he passed away shortly after her funeral, because we weren't able to have her funeral. It was 2 or 3 weeks before we could do the funeral. So yeah, it's where I don't like to talk about it. Yeah. I'm like, I push it away in denial.
It's definitely hard. It's definitely hard. And you didn't really experience death before your mom, right?
Yeah, but not, like my granddad had passed away.
Oh, right.
I want to say like 6 years before that. And my grandma, I was, oh my gosh, I was either still in high school or like right out of high school. And then my Grammy, so my mom's, mom, she passed, gosh, I had to have been like middle school. And then I didn't know my mom's father. He passed away before I was born. So then we had like some other great aunts and stuff that I remember, but it wasn't, I mean, that was still hard. Like you said, like even when you know it's most likely going to come and it's that time, it doesn't make it any easier, but
no.
Your mom it's a totally different situation, I feel like.
Yeah. No, I was just, for your, well, really both our personalities. I was just curious because I feel like, I don't want to say the more exposed to death you are, the better you handle it. Because I wouldn't necessarily say that I handled my grandmother's death that well. Yeah. Both my grandfathers on my dad and my mom's side, they died when I was younger. I was like 8 when one died, and then 8, 9 in the other. And you understand the concept of life and death, but you still don't really get it then.
Yeah.
Whereas I was 19 and in college when my grandmother had died. And it's still hard for me to talk about sometimes. So I can't even imagine 2 years out when it's been, like I said, almost 20 years. It'll be 20 years on the next Valentine's Day. Uh-huh. She had cancer. And so I ended up with my parents going over to her house a lot when she would go through the chemo and radiation. And it's definitely a process. Then I hate to say this, but I didn't like going over when I knew she had a treatment, because she wasn't herself. That wasn't my grandmother. And it was really hard to see her that way. And I know your experience was kind of similar because of your mom's illness. And and that's why I'm saying, even though, like, the diagnosis is not great. In my grandmother's case, I think they said she had about 6 months, which was before our graduation. So she got to see me graduate, and that was awesome. Yeah. So then I was being kind of like you. And I was like, okay, she's going to see me. I was totally like, I'm going to graduate college and she's going to see it and I'm going to get married. That's kind of why I had this timeline in my head when I was younger. Like, these are the things that have to happen, hopefully in the hopes that my grandmother, because she had already outlived her diagnosis time frame, like would continue to do so. So I totally get, that's when you're like, real big rose colored glasses. It's gonna work.
Yes. Yes. And like, because she, like looking back, she was showing signs like pretty early on. And it wasn't until she went to a dermatologist and he was actually the one, here in Fruitland that was like, okay, this isn't right, and had a different blood panel done, which is why it's really important to go to the doctor, get all your blood work done, do your checkups, make sure they're doing full panels. Like, you know, if you feel like something isn't right, keep pushing. Find somebody who will be an advocate for you, because that is what her doctor did for her, and knew something wasn't right with what she was going on, like what was happening with her. Able to get her into chemo, you know, pretty quickly. Like, I think it was in the next week or two. Ended up beating cancer. Like, we had a whole celebration. She was actually getting ready to go to the hospital for stem cell transplants. And so we did like a whole, what did we call it? Thanks Christmas or something, or Christgiving or something like that. So we did like Christmas and Thanksgiving all in one to celebrate, because we knew she was going to be in the hospital for this treatment. And then she got worse and ended up in the hospital with a lot of complications. And it turned out that even though she'd beat it, the chemo had damaged her heart. So she was in the hospital for, I think, like, oh my gosh, was it three weeks? My memory, that whole time period was like a blur.
Sure.
But we actually brought her home on hospice, like, on her birthday. And what was it? Tea parties. And so we were able to do like one last tea party, and we had FaceTime so she could like see her sisters and my nephew. And, so we were able to at least have like one last time where she was still there and smiling, and she got to hold Ella, and, you know, so that was really important. But it was hard. And yeah, so I don't like talking about it. I'm like, oh, push all the feelings away.
That is such a good memory, though. I want to say that because when I found out my grandmother had died, so my grandmother's birthday was Valentine's Day.
Oh.
And actually, I think this year would have been her 100th birthday, if I remember correctly.
Oh my gosh.
Which is crazy. I found out 2 days later, and it was because my brother had called me when I was at college, and he's like, hey, have you talked to Mom yet? And I'm like, no, but I was like, I don't think she's called. I can definitely call her. He's like, yeah, no, she's probably going to call in a little bit. She has something to tell you, but she's not sure how you're going to take it. So there's a little bit of a heart drop.
Oh.
And I said, okay, well, what is it? So I nervous laugh. I laugh when right. We both do this if you guys haven't figured it out, when I don't know what to do. So I'm like, hey, let's laugh it out. So yeah, he said she wasn't sure how you're going to take it. And I think part of it was because he also knew, because my mom knows, like we were the three main people that she saw during her time. And I think she actually did it too, because she was fine. So my family used to take my grandmother out to dinner, and my dad had been over earlier that day. And he went home to let her get dressed and do whatever, get ready for dinner. And then he went to go back to take her out, and she had passed away. I'm actually 100% convinced that she was like, I saw my son who's here all the time. It's great. I'm just ready. Like,
yeah.
I think she wanted to leave on a positive, like, we're gonna go do our normal thing. He thinks we're gonna go do our normal thing and go to dinner for my birthday, you know? So I found out 2 days later. And like you, for years, I would cry around Valentine's Day. And I was like, I don't understand. I don't care about a relationship right now. Like, and I had no idea. I would just be like, I feel sad and I wouldn't want to go anywhere. And sometimes I'd be bawling and I'm like, what is wrong with me? And finally it clicked. Like, I don't know, 7 years later, because it's still out. Like, I don't think I've really been that way anymore, but it would still happen. And I'm like, I don't know what's wrong. And then I'm like, oh, this whole weekend is the weekend I found out my grandmother died. No wonder. I'm like, my body is remembering it physically because I don't think I cried like you. I don't think I cried. I know I didn't when my mom told me. So that was on February 16th. And I think the funeral was like a week later, like 3 days later or something. And then I know I didn't at the funeral. I think it was like 2 weeks even after that I even sort of cried.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy. Like how much, like depending on your personality, but for us, we're like, nope, just something else.
Yeah. And keeping you busy. Like, I mean, I did. I feel like my boss at the time was amazing, and she was like, take off, as much time as you need. And I needed that because I let it all out for like days on end. And you can see it now. Like my nose is all red. Like I'm not even like crying. I turn red. I get a headache. Like my whole body just, reacts horribly. So I try really hard not to cry because I hate it, but, it's good. Like that was like the first thing that we really talked with our kids about was like, it's important to feel that. It's important to acknowledge how you're feeling, process through it. You can't stay there. It's not healthy to stay there, but, the best thing that we did was, got them into counseling. I did not do that for myself, which, that and a lot of other unresolved issues in my past, I need to. I like to live in the world of denial and pretend like everything's fine. So just why I've not done that. But I think, just make sure if your loved ones, whether it's your friends or your family, like they call, answer the phone. If you have, a trip you have been planning with them, do it. Like you never know when that you're not going to have that opportunity again.
Right.
And the biggest thing too is I was, oh my gosh, how old was I? 14 when I lost my best friend, Russell. Mm-hmm. I didn't handle that well either. And that, losing my mom, it actually brought up all of that too. And how much I don't acknowledge things, and I didn't want my kids to be like me. So I'm like, do as I say, not as I do. So anyway, I felt like it was like a weight on my shoulders and my chest. Like it was just like eating me up that I hadn't really talked about that. And, I didn't want it to seem like my mom wasn't a part of it. She's a big part of it. She's like the main reason why, I work harder. She's the reason why I want to do better by my kids and, my whole family, so anyway, that's my, story. I don't like sad things. And so that's why we try to stick to more uplifting things. I feel like last episode, we got a little bit deep in it too. A harder topic too.
Yeah. We tried not to.
Yeah. But we try to keep it upbeat because, that's why we love talking to each other, because it is like this, even if we have something hard that we're going through together, or alone, we have that person to kind of be that safe place, positive little environment that, you know, we can come to each other, and we want that for other people too. So we hope that this wasn't too much of a downer episode. Just know that if you are going through this, or you have had it, any loss or mourning yourself, then I'm sorry if you can hear my family in the background. I've got lots of kids, and my husband's the biggest one. I think he's the one making all the noise right now.
I was just saying that physical loss also reminded us of the cultural loss, because for me, my grandparents were really that last link of really knowing the cultures. And my grandmother was my only grandparent by the time I was 19 and 20. Was I 20? I don't know. I mean, I should know, but I don't.
Yeah.
So that's partially why I want to, part of my celebration is going to be Dia de los Muertos, which we haven't done yet, and my family hasn't done before. But I'm excited to have it be part of our personal family traditions now that I have my own family.
Yes. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Whew. Uh, we had some technical difficulties, and Zandra was kind of freezing, and I was freezing, and gave me some good laugh therapy there for a minute. So I'm like trying to recompose myself, but we are working really hard and not making these episodes too long. So we're gonna go ahead and wrap this up. We have a lot more we want to talk about, like with our, like Zandra was just explaining, that loss of our culture, loss of our identity, as we kind of go through these harder times. And so stay tuned. Hopefully we can kind of talk more about that in the next episodes, and have some like fun upbeat ones here pretty soon too. So is there anything else that you wanted to say, Zandra?
I think that's all for now.
All right. Well, thanks for hanging out. If you guys
Yeah.
aren't already, you guys can come follow us on Instagram and Facebook. It's imperfect, WR&Z, or you can just look up imperfect with Rebekah and Zandra. We are also on Spotify, Apple, and Podbean for podcasts. And then if you want to watch us, we're on YouTube with Imperfect with Rebekah and Zandra. But we hope you guys have a imperfectly perfect, beautiful day, and we'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye, guys.
Bye. Have a good day.